Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're looking at something, well, pretty significant.
Hmm.
It's about how all this digital stuff, the constant distractions, the super fast content, how it's maybe changing the way kids read and
Like
focus.
a huge topic,
Mhm.
really vital.
Yeah. And we've got quite a bit to draw on. A quote from Nicholas Carr, some real life stories from parents, one concerned, one quite hopeful, actually, and then, of course, research findings.
Right, from names like Christakis, Swing, Anderson, Bushman, Gentile, Dr. Raditsky, Broxley, too. A good range.
Exactly. So the goal, our mission for this deep dive is to really get under the skin of these challenges and see what potential solutions might look like for helping kids, engage with reading today.
It's crucial, isn't it? Because the digital world has so much to offer, but we have to understand how it affects these fundamental skills like reading. It's key for their development.
Okay, let's jump right in then. The core concern. Nicholas Carr put it quite starkly, didn't he?
He did.
He said something like, we are raising a generation of kids who can't sit still, can't focus, minds cluttered with distractions. And he asked, what's the price for this superficial engagement?
And he specifically flagged how it undermines reading skills.
Yeah. And we know why that matters, right?
Yeah.
Reading isn't just decoding words, it's so much bigger.
Oh, absolutely. It's the bedrock for cognitive development. It's how we learn things, build memory, expand vocabulary, develop critical thinking. Seriously fundamental.
And not just academics either. Entertainment, relaxation.
Stress reduction even. So if that ability for deep engagement with text gets eroded, well, the ripple effects are potentially huge.
And that's the worry, isn't it? This constant stream of fast stuff, maybe shrinking attention spans, kids' attention being pulled in so many directions.
Leading to potentially weaker reading comprehension,
Yeah.
less critical analysis.
Exactly. It's not just about whether they pick up a book, but maybe a weakening of these core mental skills. That's the real fear, I think.
Precisely. And that ability to focus deeply, which reading demands, is needed for learning anything, really. If young minds are just constantly flitting between stimuli.
That capacity for sustained thought might diminish.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the impact of that fast-paced content you mentioned. The research by Christakis and Swing, it suggests a link, right?
Right.
Between rapid digital stimulation and shorter attention spans in kids and teens.
It does. It's almost like the brain adapts. It starts expecting constant novelty, constant change.
And that makes slower activities, like reading a book.
Feel much harder,
Ugh.
less engaging, maybe even boring to a brain wired for speed. It's that idea of neuroplasticity,
Yeah.
the brain changing based on experience.
And this difficulty focusing, it's echoed in other research too.
Yeah.
Anderson and Bushman, Gentile.
Yes, their work connects rapidly changing media exposure to issues with attention control, more distractibility.
So it becomes physically harder to concentrate on a story, follow an argument in a book.
Exactly. Yeah. Filtering out distractions, maintaining focus on a single narrative
Yeah.
that takes mental effort.
Yeah.
If that muscle is weakened by constant high-speed input,
Reading concentration suffers. And comprehension right along with it.
inevitably.
And we have a really stark example of this from a parent, Sarah M. It makes it very real. She said basically, before all the endless scrolling and fast videos, her son would get lost in books for hours.
Right.
But now he gets fidgety after just one page. She actually used the phrase, his brain has been rewired for speed.
Wow. That's powerful language.
It is. She said the slow pace of reading just can't hold him anymore, and she worries what it's doing to his ability to really understand things deeply.
That really illustrates the potential impact, doesn't it? That feeling of a rewired mind, it speaks directly to that neuroplasticity we talked about.
Yeah.
And her worry about deep understanding, that's the core issue. A potential loss of, let's call it, cognitive stamina.
It sounds incredibly tough for parents. And that quote from Dr. Jenny Rudetsky?
Oh.
Comparing trying to hold a child's focus now to trying to catch smoke with bare hands.
It captures the frustration, the difficulty perfectly.
And there's another layer here too, isn't there? Parental stress itself. The research by Broccoli and colleagues.
Yes, that's a really interesting finding. They found a link, a positive association between higher parental stress levels and how much screen time toddlers were getting.
Okay, so let's unpack that. If parents are more stressed,
They might, understandably, use screens more readily to occupy the kids, maybe just to get a break or manage things,
which could then reinforce the child's preference for that fast-paced digital content.
making it even harder later to engage them in something like reading.
Which, in turn, could increase parental stress again because it's so hard to pull them away. It sounds like a potential cycle.
It could well be a really complex dynamic. It shows why finding effective strategies is so important, not just for the kids, but for the parents too.
But it's not all doom and gloom, thankfully. We do have that hopeful story from Maria Rodriguez.
Ah, yes, the tech twilight hour. I like that one.
Me too. She described her son becoming like a digital zombie, which many parents might recognize.
Mhm.
So they decided, very intentionally, to create this screen-free hour before bed, and they filled it with shared reading.
And the outcome.
Well, she's realistic, says it's not like a magic switch, but he now sometimes chooses to read on his own.
That's significant.
She called it a seed we're watering. I thought that was a lovely way to put it.
It really is, and it shows that these effects, this pull towards digital speed, it's not necessarily permanent or irreversible. Intentional strategies can work.
Creating that dedicated time and space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And making it shared, enjoyable, that seems key too. It's not just removing screens, but adding something positive, connecting. It helps kids rediscover the pleasure of books.
It really drives home the main point, doesn't it? That while the pull of endless scrolling is strong, really strong,
It's not unbeatable. We can take active steps.
we can cultivate focus, nurture that love for reading.
Absolutely. It's about conscious intervention, creating environments that support attention and appreciation for slower, deeper activities.
So if we boil it all down, what we've explored today shows pretty clearly, I think, the significant impact digital distractions and fast content can have on kids' attention and reading.
Yeah, with potential knock-on effects for their cognitive development overall. It's a serious consideration.
But, and this is the crucial but, Maria's story shows us it's not a foregone conclusion.
Right. Deliberate effort, creative strategies, they can make a real difference. Positive change is possible.
So the key takeaways seem clear. Yes, the digital world presents real challenges to reading habits and attention.
Big challenges. But proactive, intentional approaches can counteract some of that and foster a genuine appreciation for reading.
Which leaves us with a final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to chew on. Given how fast digital media keeps changing, what other creative, consistent strategies might work? How else can we really nurture that love for reading and maybe more importantly, deep thinking in our kids?
A question for all of us moving forward.
Definitely something to keep exploring. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.